Hey, welcome back to Vox Terra. Today I want to share with you a headline from June. Heatwave devastates India's mango harvest. Farmers see yields dropping by 70%, damaging livelihoods and pushing up prices. Now, not just the mango harvest getting damaged by this extreme heat, but also the wheat harvest. And the article referred to the early onset of summer, with one neighborhood in New Delhi reaching 121 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this headline brings up several important points that I think the media is largely underreporting. They're largely underreporting the climate change mechanisms driving these extreme weather conditions and now crop failures. You know what I think, due to the power and the influence of the fossil fuel petrochemical industries in our media, as well as the fact that science operates on probability. And now this heating planet of ours is beginning to kick in an era of crop failure. And with that, rising prices. So think about the inflation we are now experiencing and what most of the media's response is to that inflation. Why isn't Biden bringing down gas prices? Why isn't he opening more oil and gas drilling? Well, it's this very excessive use of fossil fuels that is destabilizing our climate and driving up prices. And think about, too, that this is a mango harvest that's being devastated. How many times do you hear climate change dismissers or deniers try to say something like, well, CO2, it's good for the plants. Well, look, maybe it's good for plants like ragweed, things that live fast, die young, but it isn't good for old, established life forms like trees. They can't take the rapid change. Well, so let's look at those probabilities that are getting generally underreported by our media, but any reporter could emphasize when they talk about this extreme weather and now crop failure. According to the Met Office, governments of the UK, the chances of record-breaking heat wave in northwest India and Pakistan has been made over 100 times more likely because of climate change. And how does that work? Like I studied to you before from NASA, the Earth is 2 Fahrenheit hotter, or 1.10 Celsius hotter, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the 1880s. According to NOAA, we're putting nearly 40 billion tons annually of known heat-trapping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, primarily through the burning of fossil fuels. And there appears to be no let-up in sight. And remember, even if you're still listening to some of these climate dismissers, well, this stuff ain't good for you to breathe in. So with less coal to go around now, the odds of heat waves are just going up in extreme heat, and that's what's happening. You look at the EPA Climate Change Indicators website and you'll see for all 48 contiguous states, heat wave intensity, season, duration, and frequency are all up. Heat wave season. So think about that with that Wall Street Journal article mentioning the early onset of summer, a bigger summer, a hotter one. Well, any reporter could be citing this, but even this stat is a little misleading. It's still a little frog in the pot of boiling water-ish, if you know what I mean. Look, according to the National Academy of Sciences, a heat wave is a prolonged period of abnormally hot weather. But see, that's the key, abnormally hot. Well, I cited to you in an earlier video to NOAA that the way NOAA operates is what's considered normal is that average is changed at every 30-year time period, and what's considered normal is getting hotter. But reporters could also go outside of US data to verify that extreme heat is on the rise globally. Here's an IPCC 2021 report written for, quote, policymakers, as if there really were such a thing. It's we the people who are driving the policy who need to wake up to this. Hot extremes have been increasing planet-wide since the 1950s. And that corresponds to the US EPA data, worldwide. And this is a really ominous headline from NASA that any reporter could be citing whenever they talk about crop failures with this era of extreme weather we're experiencing. Global climate change impact on crops expected within 10 years. And remember, it's here now anyway, but it's scheduled to get worse. And why wouldn't it be? Well, check out my video on climate change feedback loops. First of all, there is really no lowering of carbon and greenhouse gas emissions. There only seems to be more fossil fuels being burned right now. And second, even if the brakes were put on, which they don't seem to be, a lot of heating is already baked in, so to speak, because you've got that Arctic sea ice retreating, so less heat gets reflected off the planet, more heat gets absorbed, everything keeps heating, and you've got that layer of what's called permafrost thawing, releasing methane. So everything we are seeing now looks set to just be a taste of what's to come. Please do not be lulled like that frog in the pot of boiling water by a media that seems obviously connected to the fossil fuel petrochemical industry and has a built-in incentive to downplay this situation and all environmental news in general for that reason. Please do not be lulled into a false sense of normalcy by politicians who either have climate change on just some long checklist and the environment on some long checklist of issues, or worse, by those who are in denial and dismissive about it. Remember, fossil fuel petrochemicals donate millions of dollars to campaigns each year, and this goes largely underreported, and the lion's share of it, in the case of the US of A, is going to Republicans. Well, I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel, you clicked the notification bell, you're liking, you're commenting, and until next time, and you're donating at Patreon, that would be appreciated. And until next time, and as always, peace be with you.